Okay. We're going to cover how to scrub or strip and wax a floor. We'll do this in a series of videos, and you'll see me go a little bit quicker for training purposes than I normally go, and just have a deadline as long as my video can be. First off, I grabbed all my needed equipment and brought it up to the area I'm working in. That's essentially what you want to do. You want to make sure that you don't get halfway through a project and have to go back downstairs for something that you may have forgot. So get everything in one hit. That way, from start to finish, you are not having to stop and break away from your project. You want your project to work very fluidly for you. First thing I did was after that was I took all the furniture out of the room. And you're gonna have to use your judgment. If it can move, I say get it out of there. If it doesn't have wheels and you have to scoot it or drag it out, I say leave it and wax around it. Meaning that you don't want to wax and drag something through your fresh wax to get it back into the room. You know, you don't want to ruin your wax job because you didn't want to wax around something. But if it can move, it has wheels, get it out of there. You want an open floor space as you possibly can get. This is a patient room, probably 150 square feet, all told. And I'm gonna do a top scrub because I don't have a lot of wax built up. The floor is pretty beat up, so it's gonna be a top scrub with a water solution and a black pad. I have a 20-inch rotor machine side by side. And I'm using a black pad. I have a water solution in the tank, meaning that I'm not stripping with a neutral cleaner. I do not want residues on this floor. You want your floors to have nothing on it by the time you get to wax. Even with the recommended neutral cleaners, they have a tendency to leave a residue, and you can wax that into the floor, and you can see your residual marks underneath your wax, and that's not a good thing. So when I do a top scrub, I scrub it with water, and then I mop it with water, okay? Because I want to pull up everything that's on the floor. I don't want even the slightest bit of residue on the floor when I get to waxing. So water on water. This is a typical side-by-side machine with a reservoir on top. I think it has 175 RPM. And we're going to go ahead and get started at this point. You're going to see me start and work my way out, and I'm going to describe things as I go. Okay? So first off, I'm going to get the machine ready to go. Right now, let me break down the machine. You have a safety switch up top, which the machine will not turn without you having to press your switch. You have the water reservoir, and you have the valve, which when storing it, your valve should be closed. When you're working on it, your valve should be open. You have the chuck underneath, and you're going to need an appropriate pad driver as well. If you're using a 20-inch machine, you want a 20-inch pad driver. Okay, and then finally, I have my pad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pad on the floor, whatever side I'm going to work with. This side's a little beat up, but I'm going to still use it because it has it's a brand new pad. We used it yesterday, so I'm still going to use it to get all that I can out of the pad. So I'm going to center the driver on the pad like so, on the ground. Okay, because this is a metal driver and there's a metal chuck, so I'm not going to break anything by rocking it on there. I found that if you were to chuck your machine up and then try to put the pad on and lower the machine, your pad's going to slide down a bit, and it's not going to be centered. You want to have a really centered pad when you do a scrub. You're going to get a better scrub if your pad is centered with the driver. Okay. I already have it plugged in, so it's ready to go. In fact, it's ready to start scrubbing as soon as I get it on here. So I'm going to walk it up and center it onto the driver and kind of rock it in until it falls. So you're going to hear it fall like that. Now that means that it's ready to be engaged. It's not locked in yet, but the driver is in the chuck at that point. So without further ado, I am going to start scrubbing. I always have the cord on the outside of the room. I don't like it when it's inside the room because you'll be fighting the cord when you're scrubbing. You don't want to fight things when you're scrubbing. You want to work in one fluid motion and get out of there. I see guys, they try to get the cord and they get around the cord, and sometimes they'll get the cord around the machine. It's not a good thing. And plus, I don't like getting the cord dirty, so I try to avoid that as much as possible. So without further ado, we'll go get started. Make sure you have enough water in your reservoir. Again, you don't want to stop mid-project and get more stuff, okay? So I want to show you how to work a reservoir floor scrubber. So what you want to do is you want to get about hip high and you want it to be on your body. Whatever your dominant side is, you're going to see it's going to be on my hip. It's not going to leave me at all once I do this, okay? The further out I go, the harder the machine is to maintain and to control. So you want it up against your body. That way you can use your body to control and manipulate the machine correctly. Okay? Whatever your dominant side is. If you're left-handed, you want to put it on your left leg. If you're right-handed, you want to put it on your right leg. You have a little bit more control over what dominant side that you're using. Okay? So you have two control switches here. You have a right and a left. And you have your safety switch up here, okay? I need to make sure my reservoir is engaged. The valve is open. I have enough water in here to get the room. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so first thing you have to do is you have to disengage the switch. And then you can turn your machine on by hitting the top. Okay, so now I'm going to get her started. When you hear it click, the initial click is it locking in place, okay? So that's about the only time that it will give you a little bit of a jerk, but it's not going to be too bad. You'll see that I'm going to maintain it and not let it get carried away, okay? See that? It wasn't too bad, okay? Now my driver is locked into place. It is not going anywhere at this point, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and get started. You're going to see me do the edges first, and I'll go over a couple of different ways we can scrub as well. So I'll do my edges first, and then I work my way out of the room, okay? So like I said, it's never going to leave my body. I'm going to control it basically a lot with my hips, and I'll show you a few things on how to properly scrub the floor, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Whatever side, your non-dominant hand, you want to use that as your power switch. To get the water to come out, you have to click the other side, regardless of what side you're using. You have to click it, and that'll bring the water out. So you'll see me clicking it. That's me putting water on the floor. Now again, you don't need to flood the floor. You just need to put enough solution on there to where it'll be wet for a few minutes to give you enough time to scrub the floor, get in, and vacuum up before it dries. Okay, so you don't need to flood the floor. A good rule of thumb is if you have slurry on the ground and you see it starting to move and to migrate with the denser valleys of the floor, you're using too much solution. So you want to put enough down where it's going to be wet, but you don't need it to flood. If it's flooding, you're using way too much. So you're going to see me holding the lever down with one hand. You're going to see me clicking it to get the water to be put down with my right hand. My right hand is the strongest, so of course I'm going to use that one for the water application, okay? So we'll go ahead and get started. So see with my left hand, I am engaging the machine, making sure the machine stays on. My right hand, I'm going to start putting water down. And you can start seeing the water come down as it goes. It's putting water down as I am clicking. That clicking noise is the water mechanism in action. And I mean, you probably can't see it on video, but I am putting quite a bit of water on. You're going to see me do my edges first, and then work my way out of the room, okay? And like I said, I'm going to go a little bit quickly for training purposes, for video purposes, but all in all, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, and I want to get as close to the wall as possible, okay? I want to get to my corners as possible, because the closer you get with the machine, the less you're going to have to do on your hands and knees, the less detail work you're going to have, okay? Alright. So, got my edges done, did a couple passes. Now I'm going to do the heart of the floor. I'm going to work my way out. You'll see that'll be pretty quick. You want to put an even scrub. Meaning that if you make 4 passes in one, you want to do 4 passes through the whole thing. You don't want to get weak as you go. Start with 8, 6, 4, and then 2 just because you want to get the job done. If you're going to do 4 passes, you want to do 4 passes as you go, as you come back, okay? You don't want to do 4, 2, 3, 6, whatever. You want to keep things in track and, you know, keep things nice and even, because you'll see a pattern. Yeah, you'll see a clean, dark pattern as you go through if you don't have an even scrub. Okay. Now again, I don't get into what is better, the side-by-side motion or the power scrub circle motions. I particularly use the power scrub. Whatever way you're most comfortable with, as long as you overlap, as long as you take the time to scrub the floor properly, it doesn't really matter what technique you use. If you use a side-by-side motion or if you use a circular motion, I prefer the circular motion because it kind of helps get into the grooves of the floor as you go. You know, you're not just passing, you know, through. But I'll do both. I'll demonstrate both just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is a side-by-side, so I can show you that. And the reason I don't really particularly like the side-by-side motion because it has a tendency to leave tiger stripes if you don't overlap properly. Okay, so you'll leave stripes, you know, through the floor. But if you overlap properly, you're not going to have to worry about the tiger stripes. So I'm going to do a couple rows of side-by-side, just so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do 2 passes just to show you, and I'll get into the circular so you can see. Now the controls of this thing are pretty easy. Okay, I am subtly, gently lifting up to go right, and I'm pushing down to go left. Okay, very subtly. Okay, I'm not lifting up, and I'm not pushing down. Okay, very subtly, a very subtle lift and a very subtle. You know, like right now, I'm very gently pulling up, and I'm very gently pushing down. You'll see that I'm not really using a whole lot of muscle to get the machine. I'm not fighting the machine. I'm basically letting the machine do what it's doing. I'm very gently guiding the machine where I want it to go. Okay? Now you're going to see that the machine doesn't really leave my body. I did a couple times just to show you, but it doesn't really leave my body. The further out you go, if I were to do it like this, the harder it is to scrub. The more muscle and the more labor I'm ever get in trouble and you lose control, just let go of the machine, okay? Don't try to manhandle it, don't try to grab it, don't try to pull it, just let it go, it will stop. I'll show you what I mean. Like, say like I'm in trouble, I'm panicking, I'm losing control of the machine, it's taking me for a ride, I'll just let go, and you'll see it moves maybe an inch or two once you let it go, okay? I'll do that again. Like I said, losing control of the machine, it is moving me around, and I let go, and it stops. And you'll see that it moves a little bit to the left when you stop. Okay, and it stops pretty quickly, so you don't have anything to worry about as far as you letting the machine go and it's gonna run across the river or something. It doesn't do that. So, but if you keep the machine on you, if you keep both hands on the machine, if you go at a slow pace, you won't have to worry about this machine taking you for a ride. Okay, you have total control over the machine. So I'm gonna complete the row, just so my stuff doesn't dry up on me, so I can go into the prep. Your pad starts to migrate on you and it's not giving you a good centered scrub, you want to pull up your machine and recenter your scrub, your pad, because it's not going to give you an even scrub, and you'll see it flinging like the slurry up on the wall. So you want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to T1. Protecting you from the dirt on the floor and also from the chemical of the machine or the stripper that you may use. We're not stripping this floor, but still, I'll make sure that I'm using your proper protection equipment. out. Got the pad and driver. Now I can put the machine down without making a mark on the floor. And that is basically it as far as restripping technique. Now, if I was using stripper, first thing I would do would be applying the stripper on the floor, letting it dwell for about 10 minutes, and then I would scrub it with a water solution. I would suck it up and then top scrub it, do the process I did here. So the stripping is basically the same thing except you're using a stripper agent. You're going to let it dwell for about 10 minutes, you're going to agitate it, pull it up, and then top scrub again with water, okay? Because you want to pull up all the residues off the floor. You don't want to leave any stripper residue, you don't want to leave any of the mop residue that they've used to clean up the rooms. But that's just the added, when you strip a room, it's just an added process that we do. Okay, so typically this would be if we were working as a team, or if the baseboards and edges were beat up, I'd take a doodle bug and hit the edges real quick, and then I'd suck up my slurry and get out of the room and then start prepping the room to wax. But I'm going to do that off camera. I don't think you guys need to see me on my hands and knees. And I'm going to clean everything up as I go, and then we're going to do the prep video after this. Okay, so that's the top scrub process. One thing you want to keep in mind that when you get it all cleaned up, your floor is going to look a little bare, it's going to look blotchy. That's okay. You put 2 or 3 coats of wax on top of that, and it'll take care of all. It'll mirror it out, and you won't even see anything. Okay. All right, so that's the proper top scrub and strip technique. Okay.